Hey guys, I just want to start this video out right off the bat by letting you know that I am incredibly sorry for my lack of uploads lately. My life has been just completely sideways the past couple of months, so I really appreciate your patience and thank you. I want to get right into today's story. It's a banger from the gas station called The Tale of the Spider Folk. With nothing to work with but pure darkness, my imagination filled in the blanks with the worst images I could conjure. Gore-stained walls, mangled bodies, probably a skull or something impaled on a spike. I thought of bugs too. Every time I heard something skitter or splash, every squeak or growl that echoed off the cave walls, I imagined bugs. Larger than life, cockroaches the size of dogs, perhaps even a swarm of those flesh-eating scarabs from the Mummy movies. Under all that, beneath the smell of death and decay, there was a steady undertone of moaning. My fellow prisoners were perfectly content to wail in agony, but one was, as always, extra talkative. Okay, I spy with my little eye something black. Jerry, I said, trying to let him down gently. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I don't think this is a real good time for that game. Okay, how about another round of 20 questions? I sighed. His cheerfulness in the face of certain death was relentless. Alright, sure. Person, place, or thing? Things. He was always so bad at this game. Is it the spider demons? Aw, damn dude. Are you sure you aren't psychic anymore? If I were psychic, would I have let you talk me into going on this ghost tour in the first place? Touché. Another voice cut into our discussion. This one sounded as annoyed as I felt. Will you two shut up already? You shut up, Brenda, Jerry snapped back. I'm on vacation. If I want to play games until the spider demons come back to finish us off, I'm gonna play the goddamn games until the goddamn spider demons come back to finish us off. A new voice, this one raspy and old, arose from the other side of the cavern. Up until this point, I didn't realize there was anyone left alive over there. They're not gonna finish us off, he said. Excuse me? I asked. The monsters, they're not demons either, by the way. They're creatures that evolved from a tragedy in these woods over a century ago. Oh, Jerry sang. Story time. Let's go, Mr. Creepy Voice. Y'all aren't from around here, said Mr. Creepy Voice, so it makes sense that you've never heard of these legends. But I grew up with them, never paid them any mind until the summer. I saw the spider people myself. I couldn't help but notice that, as he spoke, the incessant wails and moans of the other prisoners seemed to diminish, almost like everybody was ignoring their pain just so they could listen to the little old man's tale. A long time ago, there was a company out this way. Some folks say they made chemicals. Some say it was a secret government testing agency, testing out poisons. See, this was before the big war. This was before science had a chance to catch up to humanity's abominations. Back then, there were always men looking for shortcuts. Jerry added, Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Exactly, said Mr. Creepy Voice. He almost sounded impressed. That's a really good way to say it. Thanks, I made it up myself. Like you said, they didn't stop to think. The results of whatever they were doing came from a bunch of children being born with defects. 6 eyes, jawbone shaped like mandibles, extra limbs. Horrors to behold. Oh my god, exclaimed Belinda. Those things are what attacked our bus. What happened to him? I asked. People around here didn't have much. The corporation offered to buy the kids outright. They turned the factory into an orphanage, but really it was more like an asylum. The kids grew up being tested and experimented on by the damn fools who cursed them to look the way they did in the first place. Until one day. Jerry started grunting next to me like he was lifting weights, which would have been impossible considering he was, just like the rest of us, trapped in a waxy cocoon. In fact, the only part of our bodies that were not secure beneath the 1-inch thick layer of itchy resin-like material was our heads. I assumed he was doing something weird, always a safe assumption with him, and ignored the noises while Mr. Creepy Voice continued his story. Legends say it was a flash flood that knocked out the power. Couldn't get it back up in the asylum for 3 days. So when they arrived, they found all the doctors and scientists dead, bites taken out of them. And the kids, they were still kids at the time, were nowhere to be seen. The strangest things about the bodies left behind is none of them had any fingers left. Jerry let out a gasp of relief, then whispered my name like he had an urgent secret to tell me but didn't want to interrupt the story. Jack. Brenda asked. They never found the kids? But they must be ancient by now. It ain't the same kids, Mr. Creepy Voice explained. See, they grew up in them woods. Malformed or not, they still are people, and eventually, they did what people do. And when their babies got old enough, they started having babies too. It's been generation after generation, inbreeding, getting more and more feral, less and less respect for the laws of man or God. Hey, Jack, Jerry whispered again. What is it? I whispered back. I got 2 fingers in my pocket and reached a keychain. I had to use some thrusting power to get it into place, but this is why I train every day. Hey, that's good for you, I said. The implication of his accomplishment hadn't settled in for me yet. I was still giving most of my attention to the older man and his story. They kept to themselves, content to snack on the occasional camper, lost hiker. But in recent years, the drought forced most of the wildlife to leave the mountain. The spider folk can't find regular meals, so they come closer to the edges of their domain. They snag a victim or two, and they eat them. How is it that nobody's gone looking for all the victims? I asked. Well, that's the thing, he answered. They don't kill people. Brenda and I asked at the same time. What? No, they ain't never killed no one since the flood. What they do is they take you, eat your fingers, and they let you go. People in town just assume they were stories. They go out near the woods and come back missing a few fingers. Probably just an accident, like a rock fell or something. A rock fell? I asked, incredulously. What does that even mean? Look, Mr. Creepy Voice said in a voice that sounded like he was annoyed. Or ashamed. Or both. It's complicated, okay? There's politics involved. And most of us are good people. We don't like talking politics. We just want life to be nice and quiet. What good is arguing gonna do? I'm confused, I said. What kind of politics could you possibly mean? You know what? Never mind. Are you saying the spider monsters aren't going to kill us? No, it's much worse than that. They're gonna keep us in here in this black as night cave because they want to keep their meat fresh. And when the time comes, when they get hungry, they're gonna come in here and eat our fingers. Brenda gasped. Wait, Jerry said. They're gonna eat our fingers and then kill us, right? No, Mr. Creepy Voice responded. They're gonna let us go, but only after they've eaten all our fingers. So, I was trying to work this all out in my head. How is this worse than death? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not thrilled about the idea of my fingers getting eaten, but given the choice between that and death... Yada! Jerry cheered with delight. Moans of pain went silent, and in the silence, the only noise that could be heard was a soft shik, shik, shik. What is that? I asked. Jerry could barely contain his excitement. I got the knife open on my keychain. I had to rip a hole in my pocket, but... That's when I realized the noise I was hearing was Jerry steadily cutting away the cocoon confinement. Now that I've got yet another hole in my pants, I'm able to say. The sawing noise stopped. It was a jingle of keys moving around, then a click, and then, let there be light! The cave was suddenly illuminated by a beam of light shining forth from Jerry's crotch hole. The tiny alien-shaped keychain flashlight that he had picked up from the Roswell gift shop was probably the equivalent of a Bic lighter for a light source, but After spending hours in the pitch black, may as well have been a spotlight. In that moment, I realized two things. First, my imagination wasn't that far off from reality. No skulls on pikes, but there was plenty of dried blood painted on the cave walls. Bugs skittered away from Jerry's crotch light like it was a radioactive blast. Fortunately, there weren't any dead bodies. That smell of rotting flesh was coming from the other, still living victims. And second, Rosa was never going to let us live this down. It had been a couple of months since we began this road trip. In that time, the amount of disasters we've encountered was, well, let's call it above average. We don't go looking for trouble, but trouble seems to come looking for us. We had just escaped another fiasco by the skin of our teeth before landing here in this quiet mountain town on our way to visit my friend Claire on the other side of the country. The plan was to lay low, patch up the bullet holes in the van, and relax for a day or two. Nothing crazy. No sewer explorations, no chasing a ball of light into a graveyard, no following any creepy little girls behind abandoned farmhouses. We had learned our lessons. So when Jerry found a flyer for Mountain Ghost Tour in our motel lobby, Rosa thought that he would have known better than to ask if we felt like going on a little excursion for the evening. The two of them got into a small fight over it. Nothing serious. She rightly pointed out that he was testing his luck. He rightly pointed out that the odds of us encountering another horrifying life-or-death event in the span of a chintzy 3-hour tour was astronomical. As always, I was called upon to be the arbiter, and as always, I made the wrong choice. Hindsight is such a jerk, isn't it? While Rosa went to watch the new Thor movie, Jerry and I bought our tickets, climbed aboard a bus that was supposed to be a tourist trap. We barely made it out of town when the bus was attacked by the spider folks. By the time Rosa got out of the theater, we were already slathered up in this viscous booger goo and plopped inside a deep dark cave. With Jerry's alien light illuminating every horrible detail, I try to focus on the humanity of our situation. There was at least 12 of us here. Brenda, who we had already met on the bus, was right next to us. So too were the other tourists. And then there were a few others. A couple barely clinging to consciousness. Dirty, bloody, and tired. The worst of these was a man across from me. Mr. Creepy Voice had an unkempt gray beard and a face full of wrinkles. Unlike the others, his arms weren't bound by the cocoon any longer. Instead, his scabbed and scarred hands hung limply at his side. One contained nothing but an index finger and a thumb. The other, nothing but a middle finger. "Jesus," I said without thinking. Mr. Creepy Voice cracked a smile. "Haven't been happy to see light in a long time." Squeak. Jerry cut the light off instantly. The noise came from the front of the cave. It sounded like something between human and animal. It was the same sound the spider creatures made when they crawled onto the tour bus and into every open window before blasting all their webby goop. "Oh no," Brenda yelled, "they're coming back!" The darkness didn't last long. A different kind of light filled the room. Distorted shadows glided over the irregular cavern walls. Squee, squee, squee. The hissing noise grew. The shadows came into focus. A creature walking upright with 6 limbs and a giant head. Then I saw it. A backlit silhouette of a spider person behind him. Another person carried a lantern. The same kind of lantern that they had when they dragged us down here in the first place. The chorus of pain and suffering rose to a crescendo. The people in the cave pleaded and begged, but before I knew what was happening, the monsters had made their selection, and they'd begun eating. They freed their victims' hands with those disgusting mandibles, then chomped away at the fingers like a horse going at sugar cubes. Jerry and I were spared, but not everyone was so lucky. Mr. Creepy Voice got the worst of it. They ate his last remaining digits and then vomited that white goo onto the wounds. It instantly hardened into the rest of the cocoon. And then, just as suddenly, the creatures turned and they walked away, leaving us in complete darkness once again. Well, That sucked, Jerry said, flicking his flashlight back on. Through gritted teeth, Mr. Creepy said, "It is what it is." As pointless as it was to ask, I felt compelled to do so anyway. "You okay?" "I knew it was only a matter of time," he said, "but now at least most of the suffering is almost over. They'll be back once the wounds are healed, and then they'll let me go." "Hang on a sec," Jerry said. The flashlight beam went wild as he began pelvic thrusting. With each movement, he made a triumphant "Hyah!" noise. Took me a second to realize that his pocket knife was steadily cutting a larger hole in his cocoon. I dared to let myself feel hope. "Wait," the old man said. "Stop that. What are you doing? The spider folk ain't gonna like that." Jerry took a second to catch his breath. His hand was already free up to the wrist, giving him plenty of maneuverability at this point to continue carving the cocoon. "Well," he said, "I guess they're gonna just have to die mad about it." With that, he began feverishly shaking his hand with the pocket knife, splitting the cocoon down the middle, releasing his arm past the elbow, cutting all the way up to his neck, and then with a loud frack, he freed himself and flopped onto the disgusting, bloody floor, which he then kissed. Oh, sweet freedom. He stood up and wiped the grime off his face, and then turned to look at me and said, "Rosa cannot know about this. I won't say a word if you don't. Great, let's get the heck out of here." He got to work sawing through my cocoon. He tried to offer the rest of the victims some reassurance. "Don't worry, I'm going to get everyone out of here." "No," shouted Creepy Voice. "You can't. There's not enough time. They're going to be back soon. Just go. Leave us. Save yourself." "What?" Brenda asked. Creepy Voice continued. "Most of us are too weak to make the walk back down the mountain. We need to stay here." "Youch!" I shouted as Jerry's blade tip went a little too deep and scraped a rib. "Oh, sorry, bud. Did I get you?" "It's fine. Just get me out of here." I would have told him to slow down and be more careful, but I had a bad feeling something was happening. Something worse than the spider monster kidnapping, that is. I couldn't put my finger on it exactly, but I knew I wanted to leave that cave before whatever was about to happen could happen. He finished his cut and pried open the plaster-like cocoon. It stuck to my skin and clothes like crazy glue, but eventually I managed to tear myself free. As soon as I was out, I started looking for a tool so I could help cut everybody else free. "Uh-oh," Jerry said as the light began to dim. "Well, looks like we're almost out of juice." "I said go!" Creepy Voice angrily shouted. "Take your friend and run away while you still have the chance. Looks like you've only got enough battery power to reach the opening of the cave. If you stay here, we'll all die, and this will all be for nothing." Something about that sentence tickled the weird part of my brain that makes me stop everything I'm doing and say, "Hang on, what?" "Just leave us." With a heavy sigh, Jerry said, "Okay, fine, we'll go get help and we'll be back to rescue you all." "No!" A heavy silence fell on the room. I looked at everyone's faces. They were all looking at the old man. Some kind of explanation. He huffed and grit his teeth, scowled as drool poured out of his mouth into his beard. What's really going on?" I asked. "It's not fair." Jerry stepped forward. "What's not fair?" "I got captured, same as you. How is it fair that you get rescued with all your fingers, but I get all 10 of mine bitten off?" "Dude, we're trying to save your life," I explained. "They ain't gonna kill me," he responded in a vicious tone. "They already ate my fingers, they're gonna come back later, and once I'm good and healed, I'm gonna get let go." "How do you know that?" asked Brenda. "Because it's what they do. They ate my neighbor Nate's fingers last year. My cousin Earl's got his eaten back in high school. Even my first wife Edna had her fingers taken. She went camping in '04. It sucks, but it's what happens." "Hold up," I said, the mystery finally revealing itself to me in the worst possible way. "Are you saying multiple people have been here already to this cave and had their fingers eaten? This has been going on for a while now, and what, people just don't do anything about it? They knew where the cave was and they still let people come out here?" "Calm down," he said without a shred of irony. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. Well, that's gonna end. Now. We're gonna get the cops and bring them back here. Don't you fucking dare. The police around here are public servants. My tax dollars pay for that. And I don't feel like having to pay more taxes just so you entitled millennials get to escape with all your fingers. Wait a second, one of the other voices said. Jerry shined the light toward the middle-aged man in the corner of the room. He wasn't from our bus, but judging by the bloodstains in his cocoon, he had already lost a digit or two on each hand. Are you saying that we're going to have to pay more in taxes if they go get a rescue team? No! I said exactly at the same time as Creepy said, yes! His was louder than me. And then he rattled on with a rant. The police are going to have to come all the way out here, buy extra gas, rent extra rescue equipment, and then waste a whole lot of ammo on the spider folk. And just think of all the overtime. Who's paying for all that wasteful government spending, huh? None of these assholes over here and their fancy elitist flashlights. God damn it, dude, I shouted. It's got nothing to do with... Why am I even arguing with you? The middle-aged man in the corner piped up again. Now, hang on. I don't want to have to pay more in taxes. You won't, I tried to explain. That argument makes absolutely no sense. I'm just a middle-class American. I haul cardboard cubes for a living. I can't afford a raise in taxes. And because of all this inflation, now I'm not trying to get political or anything. Then don't, I said. Just shut up. We're trying to save you. A new voice, this one strangely high-pitched and Muppet-like, joined the conversation. You know who really benefits from these two losers bringing back a rescue party, don't you? Jerry shined a light toward the one speaking. The man was sitting on a rock, scratching his mandible with one of his forearms. Who the fuck are you? Jerry asked. My name's Jordan Squee. And I think it's obvious, the only one who really benefits are the spider folk. Every one of us normal humans have to pay the price, Squee, while spider folk reap the benefits. Jordan's right, shouted Creepy. Whose side are you on anyway? Okay, I said, fighting back a headache. You know Jordan's a spider monster, right? I mean, look, he's got 6 eyes, he's not even in a cocoon, he's not your friend, and does not have your best interest in mind. Why are you listening to him? Of course he's human, argued the man in the corner. Look, he's wearing a hat. I looked back to see Jordan had, sure enough, put on a backwards baseball cap, with 3 eyes on his left, and they winked at me. This is stupid, I said. Jerry whispered. Yeah, but I kind of want to see where it's going, though. Creepy wasn't done arguing yet. You know who else called these things stupid? He said. Swear to God, if you say Nazis... The Nazis! The Nazis thought people who disagreed with them were stupid, just like you. So explain to me, how are you not a Nazi? Jerry leaned in and said, maybe we should just go. My flashlight doesn't have that much longer, and I think this conversation's not going to end the way you want it to. The man in the corner spoke up again. Hey, what about my son? I looked his way. Sorry, corner guy. I don't know what you're talking about. My son, Kevin. Say hi, Kevin. A teenager with jet black hair and an emo cut with mascara under his eyes tissed and said, whatever. Kevin got his thumb bitten off. Ain't that right, Kevin? You're so lame, Dad. Why'd you even bring me here? Okay, I said. Kevin, do you want us to get you out of here while you still have 9 fingers? He tissed again and said, whatever, I guess. No way, said his father. No son of mine is going to take shortcuts. You signed a waiver to go on that tour bus. You have to pay the price. Period. Squee, you're making a lot of good arguments, aren't you? Asked Jordan. Shut up, Spider. What's the matter, Squee? Can you not handle someone who destroys you with facts and logics? Typical snowflake. Jerry grabbed me by the shoulder and pulled me from the nonsense. Okay, he said. We're gonna leave now. And we'll be back, I said, with help to save all of you. No! Screamed Mr. Creepy. It's not fair that those of us have already played by the rules. We did it the right way. I lost my fingers and now I'm gonna get out. How is it fair for everyone else to get out for free? Brenda started next. Can I say something? I've been listening to all of you, and I have to say both sides are making strong arguments. And if you really think about it, both sides are the same, right? Some of us are arguing for fairness, and I think that's reasonable. And even though I still have all of my fingers, it wouldn't be fair to those who came before if we were to get a free ride. I mean, what message does that send our kids? Do whatever you want, but you need to be careful and take precautions, because taxpayers will just bail you out whenever you get in trouble. Really? Is this what America is supposed to be? Tell you what, I said, how about we put it to a vote? Who here does not want us to go get help? The creepy guy in the corner, the spider monster pretending to be a human, Brenda, all signaled that they support the plan. Okay, who here does want us to go get help? Everyone else in the room signaled these idiots may have been the loudest, but they did not represent the consensus. Well, guys, I think you've been outvoted. Rigged! Shouted Creepy. Fake! Shouted the man in the corner. I'm pretty sure we won, Belinda stated calmly. Everyone I talk to says that we want to leave the spider folk alone. It's about heritage and history. You can't just trample all over that. Plus, mathematically, there's no possible way that you could have won. Oh shit, Jerry said. I just remembered. I have a cell phone. The cell phone flashlight filled the cave with 1,000 times brighter lights than the weak little alien keychain could have. Jordan hissed and crawled away deeper to the cavern on his 8 limbs. Oh, would you look at that? I actually have cell service in here. Nice. Our conversation with the 911 operator was made slightly more awkward by Creepy's incessant shouting in the background for them to leave us alone. Jerry dropped our GPS coordinates and Creepy howled about the big government, taking away his freedom to be left in the spider cave. In a refreshing turn of luck, the police delivered a response in record time. Within 30 minutes, there were helicopters circling the mountain. Search and rescue teams carried those who couldn't walk to waiting ambulances. Some familiar men in black suits and black vans rounded up the spider people and hauled them away in the most anticlimactic ending imaginable. As I stood on the side of the mountain road watching the containment units scour the forest for errant spider people, Jerry walked up sipping from a mug. Hey, they got cocoa in the ambulance. You want any? Is there coffee? I could check. Right then, a van pulled up to the police line and stopped. Rosa got out with a smirk on her face, crossed the police tape to come and join us. Well, she said, how was the ghost tour? Kinda disappointing, I answered. How was the new Thor movie? Same. Dang. Oh! Her eyes lit up as she remembered something extra exciting. Y'all probably didn't hear, but while you were trapped in that cave, they passed a bill to cancel a bunch of student loan debt. Okay, that was pretty good. Guys, thank you. Thank you for thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and a share and all that other stuff YouTube enjoys. I will do my best to put out steady content. I really appreciate all of you being patient with me. We will see you in the next one.